Hi there, this is Mark Idelman, speech-language pathologist, and welcome to our blog, which pertains to the subject of dysarthria. Dysarthria is a problem of speaking which affects people with strokes, aphasia, various brain traumas, or neurological diseases. Most people don't really know what a dysarthria is, but a dysarthria is nothing more than slurred speech. It's indistinct speech, and many people who have it, when they speak, others have a lot of difficulty understanding them. And so this particular blog today is a blog where I'm going to explain a number of things about dysarthria and how it's addressed. And I'm especially addressing caregivers and other speech-language pathologists who may have a challenge with a loved one or a patient who has dysarthria. And dysarthria is a somewhat difficult speech difficulty to overcome, but it's really relatively easy if you approach it in a certain way. Remember that dysarthria is slurred speech. It's like if you ever heard a friend when you were in high school or whatever have too much to drink. If you've ever seen a person like this, their speech is very slurred and it's very indistinct, and it's sometimes very difficult to understand. Well, our approach to dysarthria, using the teaching of talking method, is to teach people with dysarthria that one of the major things that will improve their speaking is to decrease the rate of speaking and to increase the amount of time that is paused between each word. And many people who have speech that's very difficult to understand can be understood fairly readily in many cases if you can slow their speech down and have them speak in a word-by-word manner. But you see, it's not so easy because it takes a while for the person who may have been speaking for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years naturally, and once they develop a dysarthria, it's very difficult for them to automatically slow their speech down because they have this automatic program in their brain that their speech is supposed to go at a certain speed. And they keep trying to speak at their normal customary speed, but their articulators, the motor speech mechanism, can't produce clear speech at a rapid speed anymore, because with dysarthria, many aspects of the body are slowed down. They can't move as well, they can't move as quickly. And the same thing goes for the speech mechanism. It doesn't move very well, it doesn't move as quickly. So when a person tries to speak at their customary speed and the tongue doesn't work so well, or it works very slowly, you're going to have a lot of slurred speech. So the teaching of talking method is premised on the idea that we train caregivers and speech pathologists to be what I would call a speech model. Now, a speech model is someone to emanate. It's a certain way of speaking to emanate, a certain way of speaking to imitate, a certain way of speaking that if we hear a certain way of speaking over and over and over again, we start to speak that way. And one of the things that most people don't understand, including speech pathologists and family members, is that the person with dysarthria, if they're going to change, they must hear the model of speech produced in the same way that we want them to speak. You see? So if you remember, if we hang around certain people who speak in a certain way, have you ever noticed that we start talking like them after a while? Well, the same thing goes with dysarthria. What we really train caregivers to do, and speech pathologists, is to talk with the person with dysarthria and teach the models, the people who model the slower speech, we teach them how to ask questions and how to stimulate language so that the person with the speaking difficulty can answer in 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5-word answers. And the way that we ask questions and the speed that we ask questions will typically lead to the person with dysarthria speaking very much like we are. And so in a way, speech therapy for a person with dysarthria is like speech therapy for the person who's going to model speech, because what we're going to want is we're going to want the person who is going to model speech to speak the same way that we want the person with dysarthria to speak, the same way. So in other words, we want the person who models speech to speak very slowly, to ask questions slowly, and after a while, this is what the person with dysarthria hears, and after a while, the person with dysarthria will start to mimic and start to pick up on what he or she hears all the time. So that's a little bit of a nutshell of the way we approach dysarthria, and it works very nicely because we don't really work on a lot of exercises, a lot of handouts, a lot of homework sheets. What we do is we teach caregivers how to interact and how to speak with the person who has dysarthria in a way that will trigger them to speak slowly at home in activities of daily living. And so it's really a great way to stimulate speech and language. It's an interactive way. It's not boring, it's interactive, and we get results. So if you'd like to find out more about the teaching of talking method for dysarthria, kindly contact me at our website, which is teachingoftalking.com. And there you can order our book if you'd like, The Teaching of Talking, and you can go to our website and read up on what we're doing and how we're doing it. And if you want to contact me, there's also a place on the website called Contact Me where you can send me a note and we can develop some communication. So I'm really glad you stopped by to listen to this, and I hope to communicate further with you in the future. Thank you very much. This is Mark Ittleman, speech-language pathologist for 41 years, sharing what I know with the people in Texas, in the United States, and across the world, and around the world. Thank you very much. Bye-bye now.